we're going live. All right, guys, appreciate you joining. We're gonna get started, jump right into it. As you guys see, I have the SPY chart up. I want to walk through a little bit of our plays yesterday. We had a great day trading and a green start overall. As you guys see, this was our Monday right here, and you come across and we market opened about somewhere, and it was like right here. So the plays that we did, we had two different plays that played out, but this was the most exciting. And so part of my huddle yesterday on the SPY when we played our options, we had anticipated an early push north, and then we had a rejection off of this trend line. This is the one we were following, right? So a lot of us entered our puts up here, and we just basically rode this all the way down. Some people caught the bottom, some people closed in here, which is okay. But it ended up really big trade. I think the biggest trade that we had, somebody took, I think it was CK, took 100 contracts put on this, made about 6 or 7 grand, I think, in that one movement. I made on just this one movement about 800. It should have been about 1200. I moved my trailing stop a little bit too close in this area, and so it came up, wicked me, and then dropped. So that's always fun when that happens, right? But it happens. We'll take the net green. And then we kind of we just hung out after that, guys. We were net green. My call in the room, and you guys that were in the room, you guys know this, was that we were likely to push up hard, we were to drop hard, and then we were going to range, right? And it literally did that all day, right? I mean, there was some great scalps in here that some people took. There's some, I stayed patient through this, didn't really take much. Right before market close, I did see this little pump up here, so I did take another put here for another kind of about $400 or $500 win. I didn't let it go really far just because it was getting towards market close. So, but hopefully some of you guys who were still trading end up catching that. So, because that was the range we were playing, guys, and that's why I always say, when I say I'm staying put or staying short, it doesn't mean that I believe the market is overall bearish, like we're crashing to the floor, right? You can create a higher low or even a higher high, right? If this went up higher, and you can still scalp these puts if you know what you're looking for, right? If you know how to read it. So now keep in mind, you can see here the pre-market is down. We are at this 417.66. We are getting into some major support here. So I would be really cautious on taking trades right at market open. And the reason why is because if we open up with enough bearish momentum, it's going to break this level, and that sucker is just going to absolutely tank, right? We could probably come down, I would say somewhere into this range here, 415 area, because you have what was known as resistance. You have what was known as resistance here, and then we have known support here, right? So this could just come down for just a retest. And this is where people get confused, right? Because although I say I may be playing the gap and I'm overall, or I'm bearish in the short term on my scalping, it's because I don't like this gap, right? I don't want to fight a put. I don't mind fighting a put up to these levels of just massive resistance, but I don't want to get stuck in a call all the way down here and just a free fall, right? Which can happen. And so I typically am going to wait for a fall rejection, then I'm going to take that put, or I'm going to wait for another pump up here, and then I'm going to take that put. But I'm playing the direction of where that gap is going to likely fill. So in short term, I would think kind of bearish pullback, and then in long term, I think that we'll get a massive bounce off that, and we'll probably go back up. If you go to the 1 hour here on the chart, this is the 1 hour or the 200 EMA on the 1 hour, this orange line right here, and you can see we are moving upward. My anticipation, if y'all remember from yesterday, I think maybe Friday even, is that we do have this kind of lower trend line, right? That we got not only 1 but 2 3 bounces, plus it reclaimed this with some crazy support. So it's very valid as far as a support line, right? And it's no coincidence this happens to follow this 200 EMA. So in the kind of short term move, I would almost anticipate we're going to come back down to here around 413, which will be a retest, because by the time this EMA catches up to here, it would almost be a retest of that trend line. Now keep in mind, this is somewhat of a bearish pattern. But depending how the divergence is playing out, or the RSI in general, right, might tell us if we're going to break that or are we going to bounce one more time. So my suspicion is, unless the news comes out that, some super bearish news on the debt ceiling or something like that, right, we'll probably come down here and then bounce up again. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't hit here, and because we're just continuing to range, right? So we could hit here, come up, hit this, come in like that, right? So if you take this line and you squeeze it down, right, we could get this squeeze, break above it, and then break north before we break south. So always play the and or if in your mind. Make sure when you're trading and you're scalping, you're playing chess, right? You're always looking for the and or ifs or the moves ahead. Pre-market, we're currently below this yellow line of prior support and resistance. It could be arguable that this one goes back really far, but that people are more likely following this peak right here, which then in that case we're just above it, right? Which lines up better with this. So I'm okay with moving that. Never be shy of moving your lines, guys. We don't have crystal balls, right? The market, you want to roll with the market, right? The market's not going to roll with you. So that's kind of where I'm at with the overall SPY. I know I spent a lot more time on that one than I normally do, but a lot of good stuff. So this is what I put out for the SPX. You can see also on the 1 hour, just following this right here, we had another rejection. This actual next one, we didn't even make it. It's trying to create a larger double top. If you were to go to like a 4 hour, right, you can see, it's just a really clean double top. The only thing I would say, we did create a lower high here, which is following what that lower high did there. So it's not really a divergence, but I will tell you that our divergence hunter is picking up on not only, kind of a little head and shoulder short a pattern in here, right? But it also just flipped red. So in this 4 hour, if we close in the next 23 minutes and this actually locks red, it's so accurate on those pullbacks, at least in the short term. So that would line up to kind of what I was saying. But it's not 100% certainties, because you do have the Bollinger Bands expanding on the 4 hour, and you do have them as green. So, but keep in mind, again, the 4 hour is such a far out forecast. It could happen short term, it could happen in a week, it could happen in 2 weeks, right? It's not a real close forecast, right? But our Bollinger Band low is really really far down here. We are off of our resistance line. If we double top off this resistance line, it's going to be a short-term pullback. And also note too, right, the 200 EM, or I'm sorry, this is the Bollinger Band, so this would be the 21 SMA. We are below that. So looking very bearish for the short term, but it would not surprise me if we don't get a little bit of support to push back up for a retest. If I were to see, similar to what we've had in the past, a push up like this, anything in this range, man, if I see any kind of doji or loss of support, right, I'm taking that put, and it's going to be a big contract, because then we're going to basically flip our double top potential to a triple top potential. So stay safe on that one. I'm going to jump into the Dixie. This is just, I'm not going to spend a ton of time. It's doing what we talked about forever. It's just a rounded bottom. You kind of have a little mini handle to try to create here. It's stuck right here. Near the neckline of that cup and handle, but I suspect that if it can break this neckline, it's almost certain, either instantly or within a nice little trend, that we're going to come up and reject here. If you are taking puts or shorts in the market, really watch this area, because as the Dixie comes up, and if it does smack its head on this red line here, then it's almost certain to reject, and probably pretty hard. So that's going to push that market back north. So just kind of be aware of that when you're taking your shorts or your puts. But at the end of the day, if you really just zoom out, right, if you guys are wondering where I draw my lines, I don't have any issues showing you. This is how I drew that red line. You had a resistance peak here, resistance, and we haven't retested it yet. We're in kind of a long path of a double bottom kind of situation. If you go to the daily, it's a little more clear. Long way to go before we would have to break this resistance line, hold support through this nasty resistance area, and then gain some kind of crazy momentum to break this neckline at 105 for us to see an explosion. I don't think that the dollar is in a position to be that strong. So, but we'll see. Yesterday, in the room, I told everybody somewhere around here to take a put on Apple, because when you look at Apple, I don't touch much on these, like you guys know, but it was a pretty kind of clear kind of head and shoulder looking like it was forming. It stretched a little farther than I thought it would, but you can see the pre-market is opening good. So if you took the put up here, you're likely to open pre-market in profit. I would suggest you close it somewhere around here if you are scalping, because if you look at the overall what Apple has been doing, it literally has just been riding this trend line like this. So can it break? Sure, but I would not be overly bearish and try to get the big play until we broke this. And even if we did, just like we did here, right, you may get a break down to this 200 EMA and then have it reclaimed. So just be super, super cautious. This is what we call like a landmine area. But overall, in the 1 hour, I mean, we did get the flip purple on top, so that our indicator's showing that, short term is bearish. And we are, in this area where it did flip red, and so far that's been pretty accurate. The 1 hour, if y'all know, I go to the 1 hour a lot. Our indicators are so accurate on, 1, 2, 5, 1 hour, and a lot of 15 minute. But I love looking at the 1 hour because it gives me that little bit of a further play out. So if you missed that put, you might want to wait for a better setup. But if you took it, congrats. So Microsoft slightly up, I believe. Yeah, it looks like it's slightly up from the close. You got Amazon slightly down. You got Google slightly down. Keep in mind, guys, when the pre-markets are slightly down, it's typically not the right way. Markets are gonna open. People will see that as on sale, and they'll push it up, right? So if the market, my favorite put situation is when the pre-market is elevated way high, because it's typically not sustainable unless there's news saying like this is why it did that, right? Which more times than not isn't the case. So Bitcoin, I'm going to touch on briefly. I got about 3 minutes and then we'll move on. So this is the range I was talking about, guys. You all know who've been following me for a little bit. We've just been kind of ranging here between the 27.4 and 26.6. You guys know yesterday I talked about playing the high and low range. Our low was somewhere back to retest this range, in the 26.6, 26.5, and then our high we talked about retesting was 27.4, 27.3, which we actually did. Be careful, because right here you kind of have like that. If you go to maybe a higher time frame, you have like a neckline here of kind of like a almost sort of a double bottom here. I mean, but I don't know, it's not really a clear double bottom, because really it's just ranging, guys. But the one key thing you want to look at here, guys, that it has not been able to do in these previous movements is you have your double top break, right? You have your little mini head and shoulder break. This time it had enough of an explosion to hold support at the previous level of resistance. So that is actually an interesting move, because if it breaks it, right, you have another double top down, right? You can capture a good short. However, if this actually holds like this and creates any kind of bullish sentiment, then you're going to see that explosion north pretty good. On the 1 hour overall, I mean, we're kind of overbought. We are, kind of aiming down on the RSI, and we are in that red zone. It has not flipped red. If you see this flip red, it's almost always good for at least a couple $100 movement on Bitcoin. So our indicators, when it captures that, is just so good. So the as far as the high and low, an explosion north, with the right news, I could see us getting as high as 28.7. If it does get that high, I would definitely play that rejection. I would probably say, if it's not like super newsworthy, somewhere around this prior support, 27.6, or possibly as high as 28.3, we're going to see like a pump and then rejection, and then it would need to gain support here before it would continue up, unless news, comes out super bullish. Overall, if you want to kind of trade this today, guys, I always suggest you box it in. Just take your 2 point box here. You can take kind of like that, right? And you all can see the pattern that that's creating. So if this, does kind of continue to reject down to here, but it finds support like this, then it's almost certain that we're following this bearish pennant. So if we follow this bearish pennant, then and it cannot break this line, then it's going to break down pretty far. And this is on the 1 hour, so it'd be pretty substantial. This might be what pushes it to that 25 range. So just play the range. If you guys aren't sure how to do that, or you want more information, come into the room. So you guys can do it for free. Come and hang out, trade with us. So Ethereum, I'm kind of at my time. I want to jump into the ATAs, but that's okay. We'll do Ethereum real quick. Ethereum, if you guys remember yesterday, I talked about we could see a push as high as 1880. We had 1875, 1876, so really close. That's a nice short off of there. So hopefully some of you guys in the room caught that. Bitcoin's doing the same thing as Bitcoin. It kind of like blew past this previous area of resistance, and it's trying to find support. The thing I don't like about Ethereum, I caution you on taking longs right now, is that our gap fill indicator is showing we still have to complete this gap, we still have to complete this gap, and we still have to complete this gap, right? We did not fill those. If you come out, there's really not, we actually came back and got this one, right? Now think about that, how much bumps and bruises we went through here, and it still came back and caught that gap, which is amazing. We do have kind of a little bit of a gap here that we need to fill somewhere in this range, but we may come back to capture these first, right? The key is going to be this red line here, because this red line is just so if you go back to the daily, it's that weird one I was telling you guys about, where we go through a lot of candles, which is fine, but we do have a line of support, a line of resistance, and then as you come through here, nothing has been extremely clear to see it's holding support or resistance, but when you go to the lower time frames, you'll see that you get some bounces from it. So as long as we stay below that, I'm fairly bearish. I think our zone tracker is even kind of boxing it in, you can see right here. So we may even just continue this range, right, like this, until it holds some support here before it can blow through. So that's kind of my thoughts on the market, guys. Again, if you're in crypto, I think you're good to trade long and short. We got plenty of room to the upside. We got plenty of room to the downside. Just manage your trades accordingly. If you're trading stocks or options, I don't know, guys. I think we still have not filled that gap. So I'm still taking mostly puts. If I decide to take a call, I'll probably have a really tight stop loss. So again, play your range. If you want to stay put, it's okay. Just let the move up happen. Wait for your chart patterns to come to you. Once they line up and they set it up, I promise you it'll be a very profitable trade. So let's go ahead and get into the ATA. This is the automated trading portion. We have Gambit, ETH, short. Oh, my long, I forgot. I think I stopped that and we didn't restart it when I got out of my long. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and restart it. I didn't check that, so wherever it's at now, I'm not actually in that trade. So it will work out, because I'll be able to show you guys how to start up fresh. So currently we're running anything that's in these alerts is what I'm running, because if it's in this alert, it's what's firing to our server to make that trade. So if it's not here, it's not happening. So we have ETH short, LTC long, LTC short, SOL long, SOL short, and XRP short. I want to scroll down and just make sure I didn't misname it or something like that. No. You like my alert down here? Well, I took a put yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to put a high line, right? So if it goes up and hits that stop loss, and I named it Spy Wrecked. I don't need that one anymore. I'm out of that trade, but that's funny. Yeah, have fun with your alerts, guys. Have fun with stuff. Anything you're doing, man, you guys should have fun with it. You want to be very meticulous on how you trade, but sometimes we get a little too serious, right? You gotta have some fun. A lot of my best trading days come when I'm having the most fun. ETH. So let's take a look at the shorts, since we know we're not in that long. So we did get stuck yesterday, it looks like, with the big move up here on the short, which is totally fine. It's coming back. We have not done a DCA2, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and add this super simple. When I decide to do a DCA2, I don't want to just throw it in there all willy-nilly, right? But what I want to actually, this is a great opportunity to show you guys, because I did have this question come up when it comes to DCAs. When we get a lot of kind of like various questions, right? Of people that may get confused. I can answer every individual question. We have lots of training videos. You guys can all find that. But more times than not, that question gets answered just by understanding the three primary features of what you're even trying to do, right? What does this ATA even do? So we have our layout. We know that we've created that. That's our step one. We know that the third priority is our alert. But the second priority is understanding how these alerts even work, right? I'm going to break this down as simple as I possibly can for you. The ATA does not care about anything other than what you tell it, right? It is always eager and looking for an entry. If it's in an entry, it is always looking to either find a DCA point or to find a stop loss, right? Or to find a take profit. That's all it cares about. To sum it up, it's either looking for a trade or it's looking to get out of a trade, period. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't care about anything else. But it only goes off of what you set it. So when you get lost, let's just say, for example, that this is almost a good example. So I'm glad this happened. Let's say, for example, this pumped up and I'm like, dang, I think we're coming down to here. I want to DCA this, but I missed it. So I want to put a DCA here, but I can't put a DCA there. Because if I come in here, right, and I go, well, heck yeah, I'm a DCA. Let me go back to the default DCA. Let me put in a 5, or I think it's even 3 actually. Let me see. And I'm gonna say I'm a DCA at the 3%, guys. I'm getting out of this thing. Well, that's a problem because it already added your DCA. So it can't work that way, right? So now you tell yourself, okay, I really want to add this DCA like bad. I want it to DCA right here. I don't care if it does it here. I want it to maybe DCA right here. I just needed to add volume somewhere at this level if it hits it again. I don't want to run it up here because we may not run this resistance, right? Think about this. The ATA does not care about anything other than where it takes profit. That's it. So manage your trade this way. You can either you can add volume manually to your exchange, and you can just simply move an existing trade up to here and line it up with your take profits. If you want to not manually add volume, but you want it to DCA in here somewhere, ignore this, because you guys have heard me talk about saying, well, always make sure it matches your entry. That's fine. So here's what I'm going to do. We know that this didn't happen, and I know I want to make the DCA somewhere in here. And I know this one actually did happen. So my entry is 1812. That's my entry. That's all that matters. That's all I care about right now, right? So I'm going to do this for this example just to kind of help some of you guys show a little more complicated way to do it, but it's really not complicated once you understand it. So what I need to do is I need to close my candle past this pump because this already happened. I can't have that, right? So I'm going to move this to an existing trade, and I'm going to find a low area, right? It doesn't matter where it is specifically. So we'll say 3:30 on Tuesday the 23rd. So we're going to say 23rd, 3:30. Always remember before you make a change what your entry is. Write it down or whatever, right? So 1812. I'm going to uncheck close trade on chart. We're going to enable existing. So what's that going to do? It's going to ignore all of this, and it's going to now close my trade. It's going to put me in a trade at 1850. Now, I know that is not my actual entry, right? So, but I've already manually DCA this trade. I recommend doing a manual entry on it versus trying to do the math. It can be done to DCA it there, but if you do the manual entry, and let's say your entry now comes out to, I don't know, from 1812, it's now 1830, okay? So just by changing this, I already manually DCA'd. I don't want it to DCA anymore because I've already manually did it. I've already put as much volume as I want. Sometimes people get caught up on, well, this is DCA 1, this is DCA 2. It's already DCA'd once, it's already DCA 2. I want it to DCA 3, and then they go like that and then wonder why it doesn't work. The ATA doesn't give a crap about 1, 2, 3, 4 if it never executed it. It only reads the code as 1, 2, 3, 4 if it's doing 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you go outside of that loop, it's okay. You just uncheck it, you manually DCA it yourself, it creates a new entry. So now, how does the ATA know what your entry is? People get too caught up on what this says. Well, Nick, that's wrong. My ATA says my entry is 1850. How do I get it to where I tell it my entry is 1830? The ATA doesn't care what your entry is. I'm just going to put it that blunt. All that matters is, guys, when does your ATA take profit? That is all that matters. So if I were to go with this setting, right, obviously, I'm not going to want it to take profit at 1846. This is your first profit line. I want it to take profit after my entry. So if my entry is 1830 now, I'm going to just put a little, or you know what, let's do it this way. I don't want to do like a big old line. So let's say your entry is like right there, okay? Not really that straight. That's okay, close enough. So this is my entry. How do I get this green line to be below my entry? Well, all you do is you modify your take profits. Again, the ATA does not care what your entry is. All it cares is, Nick, where are you telling me I can take profit? That's it, right? So I'm going to put a 1 here. And I'm going to see where does it's going to erase all these lines. I always get rid of all of them but the 1 because this is the only one that matters, right? After that, it's just ladder. I still don't like it here because it's not in my profit range. So I'm going to put it at 1.25. And then I'm just inching up these percents. Okay, now I'm in profit range. I look at it, okay, that's about, $3 movement. That I know would cover fees, so I'm okay with that. Once I built this, all I have to do is just add in the 0.25 each time, like this. 2.25, you see I'm just adding it, right? This is why you do the first one first. Once that green line's in profit, the ATA doesn't care about anything else. It doesn't, the entry does not have to match your entry. It doesn't. Don't be afraid if you get lost to manage your account through your exchange, right? Go in and add your own volume, add your own DCA. As long as you know where your entry is. And I know my entry is, let's say 1830 in this example. Now I've told the ATA, here's what I told it to do. And it, not very difficult. I've already manually added DCA, so I don't want it to DCA anymore, right? I don't want it to. Now, this is the entry here, but this entry is not match my entry, but I don't care. Because the ATA, I've now told it, I don't care what this is. All I care is that you do not close it till you get into this zone. That's all I did, right? Understand, forget about the small parts of it, right? Understand how it works, how it thinks. All it cares is either I'm in a trade or I'm not in a trade, right? If I'm in a trade, where am I taking profit? You modify those through the take profits, right? Don't get caught up in the DCA1, DCA2, DCA3. Now, if you start manually pulling that off, right, to where your entries, don't match, this is the easiest way to do it. If you want a DCA later, let's say it keeps going and you're like, I can't watch this, whatever, always add a DCA1. It doesn't matter how many times you put money into it, how many times you DCA'd it. It's always going to execute the code as 1, 2, 3. But you may need to move this percent, right, up a little bit higher. Because see this white line. So let's say I don't want to DCA that early because, I put in a lot of money into it already. I may want to put 5%, right? And so now what I've told this code is you're in a short. I don't care what your entry is. This is my entry. Do not take profit till you cross this green line, and do not DCA again until you cross this one. You see how easily you can manipulate it when you understand how it works. So I spent way too much time on that, but I do know I did get some questions. And it's a more, I go through a lot of the easy setups to move. 98% of the time, You don't have to do this, 99. But if you do get caught in a situation where you made a mistake or you want to get out, understanding what the ATA is trying to do, when you close this thing, nothing before it matters. Nothing. It doesn't care. That's the yellow. That's why we make it like this. Anything before the yellow, it just doesn't care. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and leave this one like this because I don't want to adjust it. But my I know my take profit is a little bit higher, so if you're following my ETH, don't follow that, because keep in mind, guys, when anything I change in here, it's not impacting what this alert's doing, because this alert is still feeding off of my prior stuff, right? So I'll probably leave this like this, and then once this alert fires, right, I know that it sold it, so I'll have that alert on my phone, and then I'll just reset all this. So I'm not gonna deal with it now because I don't have time to do that for sake of people's time. So the long, we are gonna start back in the long, guys, because I did not mean to stop that. Again, it thinks it's in a long right now, so we do need to move that candle. This is back to the simplified versions. So we are the 23rd, and we're gonna say 9 a.m. All I have to do is adjust that. I still have 1 TP. Everything else is still the same, so we're good. So we got our closeout candle. I'm gonna delete my little rogue line here. All I have to do is go to the alert, and we're doing ATA Gambit ETH long. If you already had your ETH long, don't follow along. Somehow I deleted my alert, so I had to reset that. So let's just make sure that the alert went in this time. So we have ETH short. It has not populated. I'm gonna leave this layout open. I think that might have been what happened, is I created the alert and then I closed the layout to go to the next one. So let's move on. It says for the sake of time, but I'm gonna leave that layout open in case it's still creating the alert. Let's go to LTC and see where we're at. We've been trading sideways, guys, so I really don't expect to make too many movements. As you see, I still have the long and short open. We are stuck in a long, we are stuck in a short, so we don't really care. If it goes up, we win. If it goes down, we win. We've made about $150 in, I don't know, 8 to 12 days. So we're just chilling. I'm not gonna do anything with the LTC yet. I'm waiting for a move. I want to see what kind of move breaks out, and then we'll go with that. So there's our ETH long alert. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, is I made the alert and then closed the layout too soon. So now I can close the layout. So let's take a look at Sol. I'm not anticipating making many changes yet, guys. So that's why I'm okay with pushing through that. So our long looks like it is stuck. We did get our DCA too, and it's not a bad DCA. This would have obviously been better in hindsight, but we're still holding strong. We're not very deep in our Sol long. Our shorts are killing it. In 4 days, made about $25. For those who knew, this is when it executed a short. This is when it sold it, and you can see it just scalped. The darker color is a DCA, so it does DCA because that's the settings I allow it to do. You have full control over these things. So it's doing really well. We're not currently in a short right now on Sol, so we could stop it, but because I'm in a long and there's not a lot of crazy news, I'm okay with letting Sol go. So yeah, so I'm not gonna touch that. If you're not running Sol and you want to, you can. I suggest running parabolic SARs, Sol. I do suggest if you're concerned, you may want to enable a stop loss somewhere around 5 or 7%. I don't have one because I'm playing both long and short, so I'm just kind of managing it. So I'm not going to make any changes to Sol, and then let's take a look at XRP and see if that sucker got out. I have not even watched XRP, so I don't know. No, it's so flat that I doubt it. Oh, it did. Oh, we did get out of XRP. Oh, we got out of this. Oh, wow, look at that. We got out of it at 10 a.m. yesterday. Sweet. Okay. I was thinking with this up push we didn't, but look, it did get out. So if y'all remember when I set the XRP, I wanted to get out of it. It came down, took profit, and notice this is the power of, like, when you understand the settings. We set this to an existing trade, which is what made it teal. And then the moment it takes a trade, it's done. It doesn't take anymore. So it's out. So I know I can come down here and I'm out of XRP. So, and people always do get confused about this status bar, guys. The status bar is only going to match whatever comes out after that yellow candle. So if you move the yellow triangle, then that's going to obviously modify your settings. So we're done with XRP. So if you're following me, guys, I'm doing ETH long, ETH short, LTC long, LTC short, Sol long, Sol short. I'm not gonna run Matic quite yet. I'm waiting for. We're two sideways, right? So I'm waiting for that big move. You can see we're already getting kind of that pullback. I want to see a big move before I make any decisions to add any more. Other than that, guys, I'm running 6 directions, right? 3 pairs, 6 directions. So making plenty of money through that. And the beauty is, guys, in our community, I'm just ending with this. I know I'm 5 minutes over. We have built the ATAs to trade crypto. I don't do a lot of trading on crypto live anymore. I do if I see an opportunity. I'm not going to give up free money. But it has cured or anybody in our community who's doing it, our FOMO of always feeling like you need to be in a trade in crypto. Because my ATA runs it, I don't even have to look at it anymore. So we actually have pivoted in our room. We actually trade a lot more options, which is so amazing because now we're trading options while our ATA is running. So our ATA is kind of paying for your membership fee while you're trading the options anyways. And so paying, extra, just kind of extra money, right? So it's such a great setup that we have going. So, and I'm super excited to trade with you guys today. Those in the community, I'm going to stop the video. We'll see you shortly because we do need to make sure we're ready by market open. TikTok Hangout, I'll take a look at, see what questions you guys have. Appreciate it.